Shalom. First off, I'd like to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh, who the world didn't really calls God, in the name of Yahweh Shai, who the world didn't really calls Jesus Christ. Secondly, I'd like to give double honor to the apostles and elders of the great millstone who will well continue to teach us this truth. And salutations to you, Akim, out there. I'm doing the work of Yahweh, Bashem Yahweh Shai sincerely. Right? The name of this lesson is Katrina's Hidden Race War. Right? Now, the significance of this lesson is that we need to understand, and 2/3 of our people and our people in general, the Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, and the people that descend from them, that no matter how cool you are, no matter how nice, all right, Esau, the so-called white man, when all hell breaks loose, or whenever there is a tragedy or whenever there is calamity amidst, you will become prey unto the so-called white man. You will become prey because he does not like you. All right. Now, Hurricane Katrina, if you go here real quick, let me just read this real quick. Hurricane Katrina was a hurricane that occurred back in 2005. And it says Hurricane Katrina was a devastating and deadly Category 5 Atlantic hurricane that caused 1,392 fatalities and damages estimated at 190 billion in late August 2005, particularly in the city of New Orleans and its surrounding areas. Katrina was a 12th tropical cyclone, the fifth hurricane and the third major hurricane of the 2005 Atlantic hurricane season. It was also the fourth most intense Atlantic hurricane to make landfall in the contiguous United States, gauged by barometric pressure. All right. Now, what made this such a big deal, not only was the death toll, but it was the conduct of the government, the conduct of everything, on the emergency response that occurred in terms of the federal, state, and local government was abysmal. All right, it was very bad. And people resorted to looting. All right, people resorted to looting because there was no food, there was no water. The federal government through FEMA promised a lot of things, but when it came down to it, they didn't get to do much. They didn't do anything, and well, they didn't do anything in a timely manner. By the time that the help had gotten, people would have been dead. So people did resort to looting. They did resort to, looting not for electronics, how people do here in more recent times, than liquor, but they were looting for water. They were looting for diapers. They were looting for food, the necessities, and basically this set the environment for the so-called white men in these in Louisiana, in New Orleans, to want to take arms into their own hands and take the situation into their own hands. So pretty much this video is going to kind of look at that through this main video here, and then I have two other videos through two other short videos where we're going to look at that perpetual hatred and how the so-called white man will always find a way to justify killing you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. But in this case, killing you so-called blacks from the tribe of Judah. All right. So without further ado, I'm going to play the video. It's in 1.5 speed.
August 29th, 2005. Hurricane Katrina.
Hurricane Katrina ripped into New Orleans. Most people tried to flee. In one neighborhood, however, a band of 15 to 30 people refused to evacuate. With the police department crippled, these people amassed weapons and began patrolling the streets. Before long, bullets began to fly. Over the past 18 months, I've interviewed figures on all sides of the gunfire: the gunmen, people who were shot and survived, and witnesses to the violence. Severed from the rest of New Orleans by the river, Algiers Point is an insular, predominantly white neighborhood within the larger Algiers district, which is mostly African American. As word spread that Algiers Point was dry, desperate people fleeing flooded zip codes began headed toward the West Bank.
I never thought that I would witness what I did during Katrina. Not now, just part. Not among some individuals that I classified as neighbors.
We're blocking both ends of the street during Hurricane, whatever, Katrina. They're doing looting. They're looting the businesses. houses right now. We figured that we'd eventually get around to looting the houses.
Fearing an influx of outsiders, the gunmen of Algiers Point barricaded their streets. Malik Rahim is one of a handful of blacks living in Algiers Point. In the days after Katrina, he says he was threatened at gunpoint by several white neighbors.
I couldn't walk through Algiers Point.
You couldn't.
Oh no, I could stay on my block. But if I would have turned that corner, I would have been in a firefight.
Malik's friend Reggie Bell was also confronted at gunpoint.
After they caught up with him, they told him to run. And if he would have ran, they was gonna kill him. They were gonna shoot him in the back. And he told him, he said, hey man, he said, I live right here. He told him to run.
At the ferry terminal in Algiers Point, the National Guard established an evacuation zone and began busing flood victims to Houston. On September 1st, 2005, Donnell Harrington left his home and began walking toward the ferry terminal with his cousin, Marcel Alexander, and a friend, Chris Collins. To get to the evacuation zone, the trio had to walk through Algiers Point.
You know, I was talking to my cousin and our friend, and I was telling him that, yeah, we finally about to get out of here. You know, I was talking to my cousin, was on the side of me, on the right side, and I looked down at my arms and everything, and because you know, some of the shots hit me in my arm, my chest, my neck, my stomach, and you know, I just saw blood everywhere. And I'm trying to think about the shots again, so I felt, and Donnell trying to get up, and we all were trying, we panicking now, and he was like hollering, like, you okay, you all right? And he was, you know, like I said, he was pretty hysterical, man. And when I saw the guy, when I actually recognized the guy, the shotgun, you know, and it was like he was reloading or something. And I'm trying to pick him up. They coming towards us with the gun. Like probably, like at that time, like probably 2 or 3 of them. And so now I'm trying to get out this guy, trying to get away from him, you know. 2 of them coming my way, and one of them coming at the nail with. But the last I saw the nail, and I'm running, me and Chris running. It was like, oh, we're gonna get you, nigga. I ran up into the corner, and they had these 2 guys in the car. They had these 2 white men in the car, an older white guy and another, you know, a younger white guy, and they had their shirts off. I can remember, you know. And they were like in a small pickup truck. We know y'all, what y'all was doing. We saw y'all.
Marcel goes on to say the vigilantes thought he was a looter.
And, you know, I'm asking these guys, I'm like, help, you know, help me, you know what I mean? And the guys was like, I can remember him telling me, we can't help you, you know? Get out of here, you know what I'm saying? And one of the guys, one of them, I can remember one of them calling me a nigga, you know, get out of here, nigga. We can't help you. We liable to shoot you ourselves. That was the last.
So here, this is the situation that he's describing. Just reminded me of the scripture here in Matthew. This is Matthew chapter 24, verse 2, and it says, because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. Exactly, man. You know, that old gentleman in the beginning, he's talking about, you know, these are his neighbors. He lives in the Algiers section of New Orleans, and he said that he would have never thought that his white neighbors would treat him like that. And it's because that love waxes cold, but especially the so-called white man has no love. You know, he has that perpetual hatred. He has that perpetual hatred. So this is Ezekiel chapter 35, verse 5. It says, because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity. All right, the time of the calamity that it's talking about is talking about when they were being pursued by the Babylonians. It says, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith the Lord power, I will prepare thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Sith thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. Exactly. So the same actions, the same activity, all right, the same vile lust for blood that you have for the children of Israel, all right, the Lord has for you, and he's going to make you pay. It says, verse 7, it says, thus will I make Mount Seir, most desolate. Mount Seir is where Esau, all right, the forefather of the Edomites, all right, where he is, where they lived. All right, it says, thus I will make Mount Seir desolate and cut off from it him that passeth out and him that returneth. Exactly. So he's going to destroy the nation of the so-called white man. All right, because of how he treats his people, how he treats the Lord's people.
I heard him say.
Eventually, Harrington got help. A black neighbor drove him to the hospital.
The last thing I heard him say.
Eventually, Harrington got help.
Yeah, nigga, we can't help you. We liable to shoot you ourselves. That was the last thing I heard him say.
Eventually, Harrington got help. A black neighbor drove him to the hospital, where doctors pulled 7 lead pellets out of his neck and repaired a large hole in his jugular vein, saving him from death. I tracked down 3 vigilantes. They described numerous shooting incidents, some of them fatal. Perhaps they were boasting or exaggerating. But their statements were detailed, plausible, and backed up by video from the time period.
We have. Floodwaters. Policeman just said.
How do you protect yourself?
You had to do what you had to do. No, you had to shoot somebody, you had to shoot somebody.
No, we had,
That's it.
we had, looters.
It was great.
It was great.
It was like pheasant season in South Dakota.
Right on.
If it moved,
Oh,
we
wait.
shot it.
That's not a pheasant. We're not in South Dakota. What's wrong with this picture?
We walked the street, we had sign-ons. Yeah, you had no choice. It was that bad. Police said, just put them on the side because they knew they were doing wrong, you know? Said, just put them to the side. That's all we could do. I am no longer a Yankee.
No.
I earned my
He
wing.
understands the N-word now.
I learned my wing.
You see these people here, these are, you know, what at face value, these are really just unassuming white folk, you know? And you hear that, he said he's not a Yankee anymore, meaning that he's not a Union. You know, back in the time of the Civil War, he's not a Union person, he's a Confederate. That's what he's saying, he's not a Yankee anymore. And then this lady says, oh, he understands the N-word now. You know, these people pretty much reveled and enjoyed, you know, doing whatever they did to, you know, quote unquote looters, you know. I'm not saying that looting is correct. All right. But what I am saying is that, you know, every situation requires discretion. You know, as the scriptures say, try the spirit by the spirit. And, you know, you already know that these people, the reason that they shot or the reason that they said that they was looters is because, you know, they not white. You know, that's the reality of it.
All the looters and stuff. We had three. They left here, one without a t-shirt and the other's full of buckshot. And we have the t-shirt to prove it. Really? Oh, yeah. We shot him.
What happens in other parts of the state, I don't know about. But
We
over
don't
here,
care about.
this
But
is
in this
our
neighborhood,
neighborhood.
we take care of our own.
We sent them back into wherever they came from and said, don't come back.
You know what? LJ's point is not a pussy community.
Donnell told me the men on the video weren't the people who tried to kill him, but he was disturbed nonetheless.
When I see that, that's pretty disturbing because it's like, that's the kind of, you know, that's the kind of mindset they was in, you know, like if it was some kind of race war or something, you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly how many people were shot by vigilantes is still unclear, but eyewitnesses say 11 people, all black males, were shot in and around Algiers Point after the storm. More than 3 years later, nobody has been prosecuted for any of these crimes, and aside from victims like Donnell Harrington, nobody seems to care.
you know, you never think that'll happen to you in your wildest imagination. You know, I mean, you hear about people getting shot all the time. You know, you watch the news and you see things like that, but in my own, you know, my own experience, my own, you know, in my life, never thought that'd happen to me. You know what I mean?
That got me looking at white people with a different perspective now. Not everybody, but majority of them, I don't look at them the same. Because if I know they had a chance to do something, they'll do it. Because 99% of the chance they're gonna get away.
And that's that, man. That's what it took for them to realize that the so-called white man is not their friend. You know? That's really what it took for them to realize that the so-called white man is indeed not their friend. You know? And it's sad. This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, verse 16, and it says, "For there shall be sedition among men and invading one another." All right, which is basically what was going on in the time of Katrina, and which is what's gonna happen in the time of Jacob's trouble, man. When all hell breaks loose, man, when there is no more police. And it says, Salakia, for there shall be sedition among men and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. All right, so these people are going to do whatever they want. And if they see you as prey, they're going to feed on you. All right, they're going to eat you up. And that's what's going to be happening, man. And remember, this is just a hurricane. You know, the police, there's a really long documentary by a well-done documentary documenting the police side of things. But within a day and a half, their police communications had gone down. So the orders were going down almost like a game of telephone. You know, they were going on from police officer to police officer. And those white police officers, they took matters into their own hands as well. And we're going to see that. You know, it says they shall not regard their kings nor princes. All right, and that's exactly what ended up happening in this situation here. And this is just a glimpse as to what happened, man. You know, these people were never held accountable. They said it here. These people were never held accountable, man. Nobody was ever held accountable. There's many, many stories, man. So this was part 1 of Katrina's hidden race war. We're gonna go on to part 2, and until next time, shalom.